Hello, welcome to the weekly outlook in the DeFi Dojo. Today is August 23rd, 2026, and we finally got something to talk about. Crypto is moving. We've spotted the bullish divergence here for quite a number of weeks, kind of waiting to see if it was actually going to do something out of that, and it did. Is this the end of the bear market? Is this the beginning of the new bull market? Are we a little early? I'm gonna unpack it all in this video and go over what I'm seeing, what I think might be happening, what I think we could possibly see, and what I'm going to be doing about it. So if you like this content, please hit that like and subscribe button below. I would appreciate it. And let's get into it. So what we have is the Bitcoin chart here. And I've successfully been able to call the bottom and top of the last 3 cycles. Now, that's not something that I like to brag about or anything, but it's just something that I seem to be pretty good at. Um, for some reason, I'm good at it with Bitcoin and other things, and then with other things, I'm not, right? So with Bitcoin and crypto, I'm pretty good at it. With the overall macro equities, like I can pinpoint pretty well what the Nasdaq and the S&P are going to do. When it comes to specific stocks, I can find opportunities, but I like to do a big macro overall analysis on things rather than trying to get too granular. But with Bitcoin, you can see we're repeating the same pattern as last cycle, but this looks like a lot smaller, right? This is a falling wedge, but it's a lot smaller and took a lot less time than this one did. Nevertheless, we've broken the falling wedge that is bullish after seeing bullish divergence on the weekly chart on both the MACD and RSI, just like we did last cycle. It's basically a repeat, just smaller. We didn't go as high as we typically would in a bull market. Like we kind of just barely broke the surface of the previous all-time high. Like we just, kind of doubled, right, from the previous high. And our low only kind of halved, right, which is kind of not typical of a bear market. Typically we see 65 to 80% drawdowns. This one only gave us from top to bottom like 50%, right? So is this the bottom? I didn't think we'd see it this soon, honestly, but I have to pay attention to this. This is a big deal. I didn't think we'd see the bottom until like October, November, because that's when the timing lines up, and I'll show you that in the next chart as well. But I did buy Ethereum at 1500, 1600, actually 1620, I believe my average is. And I called that out in the Discord, and a lot of people nabbed it there with me, and that's great. I sold it like at 1900 ish, and I kept flipping back and forth. Like I bought it, I sold it, I bought it, I sold it, and that's because it kept doing this, bearish bullish thing in this triangle here. And I wasn't sure if we were going to come back down and retest this trend, and I took a gamble to see if I could get it to pop back down here to rebuy. But it didn't happen. And luckily, I bought it like right here. As soon as I saw it close this daily candle over the triangle, I woke up the next morning and saw it, and I was like, you know what, F it, I'm just going to buy it. And I think those were my exact words in the chat. And like 2 hours later, it took off. So I'm thankful that I saw that and was able to call it out. You can see we're clearly hitting this resistance right now at 2500, so that's going to be where we want to see it break if we want to continue higher. Maybe we get a pullback from here down into this range around 2300. It's kind of what I'm looking for, potentially, and retest this daily 8 EMA. So we've just been floating up here for a number of days now. But let's go talk about Bitcoin. So here is my big study that I've been using for Bitcoin over the years, and it's what's helped me be able to pinpoint these tops and bottoms. I go by not only when the Bitcoin halving is, I go by how many days it's been since the last low, how many days it's been since the last peak, how many days the halving is after the low, right? How many days the high is after uh, the halving. So those are all the things I take into account. I also take into account these lunar eclipse cycles that seem to coincide with the tops and bottoms of every single bear and bull cycle. I can't explain it. I don't know why it works. I just know it does, and so I use it. I don't think that you should base your entire investing crypto journey off of the lunar cycles. It's just one of those extra things that helps me see it. If you can, notice the very first total lunar eclipse marks the top of cycles here, 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 and here. And the last total lunar eclipse of the cycle marks bottoms where all these white flags are. See, white flag, bear, market, low. So you have the last one here, 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 and finally last cycle was here. Now it's off just a little bit, but by a couple months, that's pretty damn good in crypto terms, I think. So if we calculate this, I didn't have the low happening until here, which is November of this year. And that's because the projected next Bitcoin halving date is April 15th, 2028. And typically we have 530 days before the halving is the low. And you can see that that's what's happening here, here, and here, right? It's somewhere in between 514 and 530, 540 days after the low is the halving, right? So if the halving is April of 2028, 530 days before that is supposed to be November. So I still have quite a few months before that is supposed to be happening. Now I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, this rally in August happened in 2022." And yes, it absolutely did. So let's go look at that. That was here, right? And so you can't call it really a rally. It was just a continuation of this bear flag that kept crawling up from June of 22 all the way through July into August. And finally, at the end of August, it started falling, right? And so this was 3 months of upside. It wasn't a 1 week, 30% rally, So this is definitely different. It also didn't break the main downtrend when it did this. It was coming off of the bottom, and it was also only just forming its first point of hitting oversold on the RSI, right? Like this was the first time it got below it. So after that, it formed its bullish divergence, creating a higher high on the MACD and RSI, although a lower low on the price, showing us that strength is returning, and then bounced and then broke the downtrend out of this falling wedge. Here it's completely different. Here we already had the bottom of the wedge hit, a bounce, which is, in my opinion, the equivalent of this move here, is this move here, right? And then a lower low and a lower low, which resulted in a higher high and a higher high on the RSI and MACD, creating bullish divergence. And now we have broken this wedge with massive momentum. This candle flips the script. Now, I'm not saying we can't go see a lower low and create 3 points of divergence like we did here, where we created 3 points of divergence on the bearish side at the top, because we had 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 before we saw downside. Could totally happen on the bottom too. We could totally nuke here and come back down and create a lower low, finally hit that 57K target that I really thought we were going to hit, or even lower, and create more divergence by November. Totally could be possible, but I have to go with the charts, and I'm going to hold on to my Ethereum, and I'm going to keep accumulating Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink, because those are my 3 favorites right now, until I start seeing whatever the narrative's going to be this cycle. Like, I was able to nail Tau last cycle, BitTensor. I got it at $20, and a lot of people in the Discord were able to take advantage of that too, and we did really well. Sold it at 700 and never looked back. And maybe I'll find the next one of those too. We have a lot of people in the Discord who are really good at the whole fundamental tokenomics thing, and they can find tokens that I've never heard of, and then I'll look at the chart and it looks good, and we get some convergence going on there, and we find some cool stuff. So now that we have this wedge break, everyone's going to be chasing this big giant green candle. I don't recommend that. I don't think that's what you should do. I think you should at least wait for a pullback of some sort before you go buying. If we have 2 to 3 years to the top, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. So let's just hypothetically say this is our bottom, right? So now we can go ahead and draw our fibs, and we'll go from top to bottom. So we should have a projected take profit target in the 1.272 to 1.68 region. So that's anywhere from 156K to 204K. Now, if this whole history repeats itself thing happens, we didn't go any higher than the 1.4414 last cycle. That was this part here. And the cycle before that, we hit the 1.618. The cycle before that, we hit the 2.272. So every cycle, we fall one fib lower, right? So that doesn't look good if that continues, because that means we're only going to 156K, right? And that means we're only going to double from here. So maybe that's the case, right? Like every cycle, Bitcoin retraces more into its previous cycle, and its all-time high is not nearly the multiple gains from the low as it is in the previous cycle. I mean, we went from being thousands of times to hundreds of times to now 10 times to I think last cycle was like seven times, maybe. Let's see what it was. From low to top. Yeah, 7 times, right? So if that gets cut in half again, then that's 2 to 3 times. That's the way that it is. So if we go 2 to 3 times, like 2 times from this low is like in the middle. Okay, it would be 174. That doesn't make sense. No. Oh yeah. Well, 2 times would be 100%. So somewhere, yeah, I think it could just be the 156 mark. It could be. We'll have to take it one level at a time, but I think we'll at least see that. Now, again, that's assuming this is our low. If we go and make another low, then we got to stretch this, down here, wherever that may be. And as you can see, that would extend these higher, right? So while people are like, I don't want to see lower Bitcoin, the lower it goes, the more extended our take profit targets become, right? Which is good for the bull market. So the shallower we are, then that means our take profit targets are lower. So I personally want to see this go lower. I would love to buy this 40 to 50K again. And I would love to buy Ethereum in the 12 to 1400 range again. And I'll still hold on to the Ethereum I have now and buy it down there too. So my main take profit targets for Ethereum are pretty high, and it's been in this zone for going on 6 years now. And when you have something um, like Ethereum, where I know that there's a lot of tokens and that it's not really depreciating that much, and as far as the whole what do they call that website? The deflationary mechanism of Ethereum that we thought we would have. But it could come back. But I think that we could at least see 7,700, 7,750 here with an upward target of 14K. And if that breaks, if things get real crazy in the future, then we could head up to 42. So, and I know that those are crazy price targets. I understand that. I'm thinking long term when I'm buying Ethereum at a 6-year range low like this. I don't want to let this go. Like I bought this and I don't want to let it go because I feel like I nailed a 7-year bottom, right? When I was able to buy this at 15, 1600. So I'm happy to hold on to this for years. Whereas with Bitcoin, I don't know. Like if I might double from here. I can do much better in equities than that. I'd rather buy Nvidia at the high right now than buy Bitcoin in the hopes that I 2 times my money in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like there's much better options. And perhaps that's why Bitcoin suffered so much in this cycle. You had the AI boom and everybody was looking to buy AI stocks instead of Bitcoin and crypto, which is understandable. They're actually going to generate revenue and Bitcoin doesn't. So maybe we get another great super cycle again. It's hard to say when that happens. It could be this cycle, could be the next, but I think it'll happen again. We just need AI to cool down in order for crypto to be cool again. If we look at equities, the dollar is once again on this line, and this is the 5th time we have visited this red line in the last year and a month or so. And if we go back, just as a reminder, this is an 18-year trend line that extends all the way back to 2007, 2008. So whenever we touch this line, it bounces. And it happened here, here, and 5 times now in the last year and plus some months. So I do expect this to bounce once again, and if that does happen, equities and crypto could fall. Crypto went really high last week, and it's because of this giant red candle, right? When these candles are big on the daily, risk assets either rise and fall really quickly. When you just have like choppy sideways motion or choppy upward or choppy downward action, it tends to be okay. But when you have these really aggressive moves on the dollar, either up or down, you're going to have aggressive moves in risk asset markets. That's just what happens. So if we get another move straight back up here, you can fully expect all of what just happened to retrace. So don't get too excited. We have 2 to 3 years possibly before we see the top of this, especially if we're not actually getting a bottom until November. So if this is the bottom, it's really early, and I can't quite compute the timeline here if the bottom is months earlier than it's supposed to be. But it doesn't mean it's not okay. It just might mean Bitcoin's becoming more accepted and we're forming bottoms earlier than we're supposed to because now there's more institutional investing and ETFs and people are putting it in their long-term IRAs and 401ks, and so maybe that's what's happening, right? But my projected top according to the timeline isn't until sometime between March and September of 2029 if the halving is April of 28. That puts us 340 days after the halving and 526 days after the halving. And I use the past cycles to give me those numbers. Like sometimes it peaks 360 days after halving, sometimes it's 525. This was 340. If we're alternating here, this is 360, 5 something, 3 something, 5 something. So then if history repeats, we're going back to 340, 330, and that would be sometime around March, right? And that would make sense if the bottom is early here, then it would make sense that this is the earlier date that we see the top. So, and it's closer to the lunar cycle as well. This is all speculative, of course, nothing you can really set in stone, but it gives us a time frame and it gives us something to work with. You can see if we look at this, this is the monthly chart. And typically when you're below the EMAs on a Bitcoin monthly chart, that's when you want to be buying stuff. You know, here you had 6 months to buy. Here you had one. Here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 months to buy. And here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to buy, and we're already going back above the EMAs. So I do think that this is prime time to be buying crypto and Bitcoin. I'm not going to go nuts with altcoins. I think they're risky as crap and they're really worthless, to be honest, and they're just a means to trade and accumulate more Bitcoin and Ethereum, in my opinion. I do like Chainlink long term. I think that if there is any sort of infrastructure put in place for use case with Ethereum, Chainlink is going to play a pivotal role in that fundamentally. And so I've been a Chainlink fan for a really long time. Other than that, I don't see anything worth long-term investing yet. As far as alts go, I will be looking for those diamonds in the rough that we probably haven't even heard about yet. But they will show themselves to me eventually, and we will try to pounce on them. Let's see, what didn't I cover? The Nasdaq. This is the main point of interest on the Nasdaq this week. We're still waiting to see if this 2.272 at 30,500, let's call it, is going to break. We rejected it last time, corrected 10%, bounced back. Looks like we're rejecting it again. However, we are holding the 8 EMA still on the weekly. As long as that's happening, you have to treat this with respect and treat it bullish. And until I see a break back down below this 1.618 at 28,776, I am not attempting any shorts on the overall equities market. And that's just the way that I'm going to do it. With the S&P, it's outperforming the Nasdaq now over the last several weeks, and it's still holding the 8 EMA as well. Hasn't actually even touched it in 3 weeks. It's still just staying high above it. And then when we look at the dollar, this tells me we got to be careful this week until this shows us it's going to break again. If it does break, then we can expect another move like this, and then we'll see if it wants to recover again or finally fall. But this whole situation to me looks like a very long accumulation, and a move back towards this blue line here at some point would create a bear market on equities and crypto more than likely. I can't see a situation where equities are going into a full-blown bull bear market and crypto is somehow starting its bull market. It just doesn't, I don't think that's ever happened before. Um, but who knows? It could happen. You know, maybe it becomes like gold. I don't know. Gold's rising again too, so you have to be careful with crypto in that sense. So the people who are saying this could just be a rally could absolutely be right. I'm not going to claim that I know it all. This is a sharp move. It filled the entire void that it filled here right back up in the same speed. So in order to really call it, it needs to break this high at 82, 83K and get up above here and then use that 82, 83K as support. If we see it come up here and break it and then just nosedive right back down below it, then yeah, we might be headed back down. And it can fill this void here very quickly. So don't be complacent with this, because just as fast as this moves up and down, it can just do it again. You see this giant gap here? If we lose this spot we're sitting at now, it can go from 77K all the way back down to 71K in like an hour. Like that's just how fast it can happen. So um I'm going to be using the DCA method. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm buying X amount of Bitcoin, ETH, and Link every week or every month um, for the foreseeable future, right? And what that's going to allow me to do is buy a little bit here. Next week, if it's down here, well, I'm buying a little bit here. If the following week it's all the way back down here, well, now my average is somewhere around here. And if we continue going lower, then this benefits me. I can continue buying it lower and lower and lower until we create that third lever of divergence, right? Where we're looking for another point, and maybe that happens into November. So I'm prepared for both situations. I'm excited to see things moving in the other direction again. If we look at the Bitcoin Nasdaq chart, here's another thing that tells me that this bull cycle is starting now and not later. Is whenever the Nasdaq the Bitcoin against the Nasdaq chart breaks the downtrend, that's the bull market starting. But as you can see, even back here, it goes up and then it's sideways for like a year before it finally makes that parabolic move. Here it breaks the trend and then goes sideways for almost a year before it makes that move, right? So I don't think that we need to rush into anything. I think we can see similar sideways action in a large range over the next year from now, where this could still just be Bitcoin at 80K in 6 months. You know, like totally possible. We could go see 100K first and then down to 70 and then arrive at 80 in 6 months. That's what crypto does. So don't get all like you're missing it yet. We got 2 to 3 years before the top is in. So make a plan for yourself and don't get all stressed out about it. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth it. So if you have any chart requests and or questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat. All of these charts are going to be in the weekly outlook channel for your reference this week. And of course, I'll be in the chats answering questions as well. If you want to join the Discord, you can go ahead and join it down there in the link in the description. And I will be there. So go ahead and drop your questions. Let's see. Bitcoin pullback and retest the cycle downtrend as support, or nah, we passed that. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a pullback. After a big, large move, there's typically a pullback, especially once you see a trend break. So come back and look at this example. Here we had the trend break and then sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, followed by a big dip back down to retest the trend here, right? And so let's see, that was a from top to bottom 22.5% retracement that proceeded to bounce 45% the next week, right? So yeah, that's totally possible. In this situation, your best bet is to be holding and then just buy a little bit when you see the dip, rather than trying to sell it all and buy lower. So we could totally see something like that happen here. If you look at our EMAs, they're not even cross bullish yet, right? So this could just retrace the whole candle and those EMAs just roll over and we don't cross bullish, and this whole thing was just a fake out. It did not close over the 382. It got over it, but we did not close over it this week. It just barely stayed under, and already this week we're seeing it reject. So until that 77,850 can close a weekly candle over, I can't call this completely bullish yet, and a retrace and retest is totally possible. So yeah, but this is a good start, hence the woohoo. Joined late. Have we not done coin yet? No, we can do coin. We just did the macro analysis and we are just now taking chart requests. So let's go look at coin. I actually prefer circle over coin, but nonetheless, we will look at coin. It's not here. There it is. Okay, so went and took out the lows. Look at that. I had an alert on this line, and that's the third time it has not touched it to ping me. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up so it stops doing that to me in hopes that I get to hit it one more time. Let's see. So accumulation, distribution, but could be accumulating again now and not going to be falling down to that 0.5. So let's get rid of that. It broke its uptrend. It's so tough, man. This thing's so choppy. I mean, really, until like this breaks, it's still in a downtrend. But I mean, yeah, this could definitely come back up and touch it, you know, for another 10 to 15%. And as long as it stays over 162, it's holding its trend here. It's just a sideways trend. That probably didn't sound right. So when you measure an uptrend and the retracement comes down to the 382 or the 236 and holds it and starts heading higher again, that's the sign of a strong trend. When the 382 breaks, which it kind of did, but it's recovered it again, then typically you see the 0.5 down to the golden pocket. And so this 382 is kind of your line in the sand where it can continue higher from here now and go make new highs still. But if it firmly falls below that 382 again, then you got to be careful, because you'll easily see the 0.5 and then even faster right through where this goes really quickly down to the 618, and you'll be 50% down from here. So it's a tough, risky one, and I'd like to see it break this downtrend before I get too happy about it. But I do own some, and it's more for the long haul. And take profit targets for the overall move are up in that gray box, and this is why. It's the 1.272 to the 1.618, but the valuation up there is really high, so I think it will get there one day. I can't say when. It could be this coming cycle. It could be 2 cycles from now for Bitcoin, but Coinbase needs to do a lot to improve its platform, but I think it'll get there one day. Hype is just always bullish. Doesn't really matter what cycle we're in. That's not crypto. Oh, let me show you this real quick too. So there's this channel, right? This is total crypto market cap, and I was expecting us to come down here. So the fact that we're not is also why I'm like, oh, this is too early. But also, once again, this is bullishly divergent because that is trending down and that is trending up. So I can't ignore that, but I was kind of expecting to come down where this arrow was. Let's go look at hype. Hype. Oh, it finally hit 80 like I thought it would. It just took its sweet freaking time, and now we're holding it as support. So now the main take profit target comes up to 92.24. If we break that, which it usually does, we're going to 114. And so that's the take profit targets I've had on hype for, God, I don't even know how long, since this candle right here and the break of the downtrend. I was calling for 80 like here, and I was like, yeah, we're going to 80. It's pretty obvious. And then it just kind of got to like 78 and then decided to retrace. So couple dollars off there, but ultimately still made the target months later. And now we can likely see something happen in this zone. And when that happens, I think that taking profits is a good idea, especially if you see it hit that green line while hitting the red line at the same time. If that were to happen, it would happen this week or next week. So that'd be crazy. 79 to 114 in a week. Yeah, it's doable. It's hype. But this is its channel. So pretty easy to draw. You draw its channel, you draw its trend, and wait for it to break. KMNO. Is that Camino? Let me guess. That stands for Camino. Probably wrong. Is it? Doesn't really say. I don't know what that means. Which one? Gemini? I don't want perps. Is it stand for Camino? Okay, I guessed right. I don't know which one to go with here. Is it? I guess I'll go Gemini. US dollar. I like candles like this. Whenever you open below the 21 or below the 8 EMA and then close above both EMAs in one candle, that's a bullish move in every book. So let's measure this. Break 025586, and let's just say even if you close a daily candle, it already closed the daily candle over it, so you can't go with that. Look, it did it here too. That's why crypto's hard. You need weekly candles to justify things here. So gotta wait another week. Wait, did this just happen? Is this live right now? Sunday. Why isn't there a new weekly candle here yet? Is this in another, maybe it's not another week in another country somewhere yet? Not sure. There should be a new weekly candle here, but it's still going off last week's for some reason. So I can't really understand why, but wherever this ends up closing is what's important. And if it closes over that mark, then yeah, that's bullish and can continue. If it rejects, then we might come back down and retest probably this level here. Somewhere in this vicinity. Let's call it that one. 021. Yeah, 021 would be the level that it might retest. And then look for it to hold there and try again. I think Bitcoin is becoming less volatile and perhaps less exciting because each subsequent halving makes it incrementally less scarce. The cut in new supply is much smaller each time, and a smaller cut should produce smaller volatility. At least that's how Bitcoin has behaved so far. Yeah, I totally agree. The other thing that happens is you get more market participation. And the more market participation you have in any asset creates a diminished volatility. So as an example, the Dow Jones versus the Nasdaq, you have much more participants in the Dow Jones over a very long period of time compared to the tech industry, which is the Nasdaq, that has a much shorter history and less market participants. Same thing goes for Bitcoin versus, whatever today's hot meme coin is. There's a lot more market participants in Bitcoin than there is in that meme coin, and so the volatility in the meme coin is going to be much higher because you have much less players throwing large sums of cash in either direction on it. And the same amount of cash on something like Bitcoin with a higher market cap is going to not move as much with that same amount of money. So, and the more expensive something gets, the less volatile it gets as well. All right, any other questions, comments, chart requests? I like this. I like seeing candles like this in crypto. I probably wouldn't buy it myself because I'm too risk averse. But if I was a young gun once again, I might throw something at that. All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time. We'll continue talking about this as it develops in the Discord, and I'll see you all during the week. Thank you very much. Bye.